Listener land, you have found the podcast that's balanced and rotated but never aligned. It's leaking a little from the oil pan yet still overflowing. The podcast whose timing belt needs a few more notches, but the extended warranty will always get you to the next milepost. Where sheet metal gets metaphysical, where horsepower takes a backseat to horseplay. The podcast that sits at the corner of memory lane and nostalgia avenue. You're about to take a permanent detour we have no intention of fixing. You have found To All the Cars I've Loved Before. Your podcast where every car tells a story, every machine has a soul, and every car has a culture. What do you think? Pretty good, right? Does that work? All those people. Yeah. Okay.
Phenomenal.
Onward. Oh, and we have that new domain. Should we talk about that domain, or should we get straight into today's theme?
Let's get straight in.
Today's theme. Are you okay? So Jeep has this kind of saying, if you look around, or the Jeep experience, right? So I thought, kind of Jimi Hendrix. I'm a big classic rock guy. Are you experienced, right? The Jimi Hendrix. So are you Jeep experienced is what I want to know. And we're going to dive into that a little bit later. So any thoughts on maybe where the Jeep name came from? Everybody who's on the podcast today is owning a Jeep. What do you think? Can we roll with it?
I do have a joke about a Jeep, and it involves.
Let's hear it.
And it involves
a joke on this podcast?
Rental cars.
Okay. Let's do it.
I did not come up with this, but I heard about it. What's the difference between a Jeep and a rental car?
Oh, wait. I know this one. There are places you wouldn't take a rental car. Is that it?
No. There are places you won't take a Jeep.
I think I had the inverse of the punchline. It's how my mind works. Lovely. We have jokes on the podcast.
It implies the Jeep can go anywhere, but if it's your Jeep, you're probably not going to take it some places. But if you want to have fun, actually rent a Jeep, and then you can go
you
anywhere.
Have the best of both worlds. Yeah.
Yes.
You could Thelma and Louise it into the Pacific Ocean, and it really doesn't matter.
Just pay
they
for
can
the
keep the deposit.
Just pay for the extra insurance.
Right on.
Go.
Hey, so what about future guests? Any word on? I know we have a backlog of people. Let's take a step back here in time, if you would, listener land. Let's go into the Wayback Machine. When we started this podcast, these 6 or 7 months ago, we said to people, "Hey, do you want to be on a podcast?" People would say, "No, you're an idiot. The podcast is going to be terrible." But now we're still idiots, but we have a list of people we're trying to get on the show. Do we want to talk at all about some of the people in the queue right now, Doug, or should we skip to how easy it is to be on the show?
Well, let's see.
I love putting them on the spot. I love the look of confusion. Permanent state of confusion.
We had your son on.
He is a trip. That boy's a trip.
Yep, we did a little sneak preview of him talking about his time as doing National Guard and learning to drive a Hummer.
No. Actually, I got to correct you. Sorry. I meant to correct you. I didn't. It's not National Guard. It's Army Reserves.
Army Reserves.
A lot of people make that mistake. Army Reserves.
That's okay.
Yeah, Army Reserves. Sorry.
We had Michael Myers on, who has written several children's books, about 9.
Coolest guy. Oh,
great
talented.
website. tisforturbo.com. A is for Apple, T is for Turbo. You get it.
Genius.
We've of course had Guinevere from Freshia Brothers. Can't say enough great things about her. I just spoke to Dave from the Small Car Company, which is not a car company anymore, but he was a referral from Guinevere. Looking forward to talking to him.
She's the best.
And we've got some great ones recorded, and hoping to talk to Dave in the future.
And this is how the show happened. It's all about family. Today's guest, we're going to cue her in a minute, has we get this a lot, but it didn't dawn on me today where the parents got a car. She's one of several siblings, and the car was just kind of a hand-me-down and worked its way down. That's the way I got my Rabbit GTI, one of my favorite cars ever. But I didn't think of that car as a hand-me-down, right? You ever get hand-me-downs from siblings or friends? they're a little bit older or bigger than you are, and kind of clothes, the shoes, the toys, whatever comes to you. Same with the cars here.
We had one gentleman on, Rob, the part-time car photographer, right? His car was used to help friends, 2 or 3 friends, pass the driver's test, right? That was unique. And maybe our guest, today, her car might have been in a similar boat, except with family.
That's such a great callback. Rob was hilarious. The car just, I don't know if it was easy to drive or everybody wanted to drive it, or the car just had good luck.
I think it was small was the key. It was easy to park.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. And the way the show works is, so Guinevere, Freesia was on the show, and she had a great time. We're trying to get her dad on. They own a garage in Connecticut. So all about family. Like Doug says, it's all about family. Okay, let's get into calls to action. And all we really have here, I just want to say a couple things because we've got to move along kind of quickly here. Every car has a culture.com. Every car has a culture.com. We're taking over the internet one domain at a time. And so we got that one. Also, we wanted to set, so Doug is always out in the community. Okay. To all the cars I loved before, very often, Doug, I'm in Florida, 1,000 miles away, but he's very often at the Annapolis City Dock at the Cars and Coffee. So if you see his car, very distinctive DeLorean, just walk up to him and just say, hey, man, like your podcast, hate your co-host. It's fine. Just let them know what you really think. So how often do they have them up there?
Every Sunday. It's going to stop soon. But I'm trying to go to other ones. Annapolis Town Center. There is one in Northern Virginia called Katie's Cars and Coffee, which apparently goes year round. And they'll have like 400 cars there. Problem is, I have to leave at about 5:30 a.m. to get there to get a spot. So,
that's too early.
But I'm hoping to get there.
All right.
I also have a just, in ways of making people smile with the DeLorean, I have a upcoming birthday party that I'm bringing the car to for a bunch of 6-year-olds. The son loves Back to the Future, so his parents thought it would be a nice surprise to have just a DeLorean show up for a little bit. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to the excitement. So many people our age love the car, but to find somebody 6 years old that really is all about Back to the Future and wants to see the car, I can't wait.
Right. I hear you. Lovely. All right. Well, walk up to him and introduce yourself at the Annapolis Cars and Coffee. All right. So as we kind of teased at the top, let's get into Jeeps. Are you Jeep experienced is the question of the day. And before I hand this off to Doug, tell us a little bit about his Jeep experience, and we pull Megan into the conversation. Just going to tell you a little bit of mine. I didn't really come from a Jeep culture background, but one kind of got my hands on one. Let's see, this was just a few years ago. I'm going to say, golly, maybe 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago at this time. And I live in Florida. Okay, so you just yank off the top. You yank everything out of it. You take off the doors and stick it in the garage. So it is basically denuded, 10, 11 months out of the year. And it's just so fun. It is just so fun. You get your sun, get your fresh air, get your tunes, you get out, you're moving from one place to another. But I was surprised by how much fun I had in that car. And it was a completely different experience. Doors on, top up than not. And it's great that it can go anywhere and crawl up a 45-degree angle. But boy, just cruising the beach in that thing was a trip. So, Doug, I remember yours.
Which one? Do you remember the first one I had?
I do. When we first met in college.
The beater.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was held together. I think Doug got the duct tape option package on that one, and that was holding together the doors and possibly even the engine block.
It was a CJ7.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I remember the one with the American flag on the side, the Olympic version.
Yep, 1994. Yeah, that was a fun vehicle. That was a great car. I want to say I owned it post 9/11, and I got more waves post 9/11.
Is the flag?
because of the flag. Yeah,
that's really neat. Really neat. I have a picture somewhere of that. I was looking for it the other day. I was going through pictures.
It's the picture with the kayaks on top, right?
It is our ill-fated adventure where amazingly we didn't die. But I got to ask you a question. How did our guest today, Megan, come into our lives?
Well, the gift that keeps giving. We've had some great guests on, and I've been fortunate enough to reconnect with old high school friends as some of these guests. But James McCrae, great guy, has his own specialty car shop in Easton, Maryland, McCrae Enterprises, and he's a true friend of the show, like so many others, and he just keeps telling us about great people. And that brings us to today's guest, who had her car which we'll get to, into his shop for repairs because it was too old to be repaired by your normal shop, because they're worried about if something breaks, they can't find the part. I totally get it, owning 2 old cars myself. So,
or maybe
what a great car.
Yeah, maybe the next generation of mechanics is so used to getting certified on computers and high tech. That's what I think is a lot of these shops don't want to touch something that would take them time to learn, but then it's a curveball. It's kind of out of the wheel. Sorry, go ahead.
You've got both, right? And then just availability of parts, right? Maybe you got to find a used part. Maybe the part is $800. Because there's only a few left. Maybe you have to rebuild it. There's so many reasons why, but fortunately we have James keeping the dream alive, and
we have Megan. Most importantly today we have Megan. Megan, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
There she is, and she's walking through the doors of the very large Cars Love Plaza studio into the very big overstuffed couches. Think of the Tonight Show. That's what we have here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Are you? So you're not in Buffalo, but you're a Buffalo Bills fan. But let's go. Let's step in the way back machine. Let's go way back and talk about your dad's Jeep. Do you remember that? Did you have fun with that? Did that lay any groundwork for something to come to the future? Let's get your take on Jeeps.
Yeah, so before I could drive, my dad had a Jeep, a CJ7, and this was before either my brothers could drive. And so my dad bought it for himself just to plow snow, because I grew up in Buffalo. So plowing snow, pulling stumps, doing those kinds of things. And my oldest brother then got to drive that car once he turned 16. And by the time I came along at 16, we had a Jeep Wrangler. The CJ7 had been sold, but then we had a Jeep Wrangler, so that became my car and my other brother. So the two of us had to use that car. And I loved it because that's how I learned to drive on that car. I learned to drive stick shift, which was the reason why I wanted stick shift cars in the future. But Jeeps are a ton of fun. We would take the top off in the summer and the doors, and it would just stay off. Fall, summer, we would throw a tarp over it overnight if it was going to rain. And we just had a blast. A lot of stories with those Jeeps. Good times for sure.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head because had that. It's amazing how great the tops are now versus way back when. And I know you had a hard top, so it was either it was on or it was off. There was no in between with those.
Yep.
Yeah, and great story. So that Jeep that your dad, so you learned to drive stick shift on that Jeep, and then your dad bought a Jeep for the children, right? You and your 2 brothers, right?
Yep.
And tell us about the next experience in the Jeep family.
Well, then I had so then I drove the Wrangler in high school, and then I guess part of college. And then we've had various Jeeps in the family. My mom then had a Cherokee. Both my brothers as adults have purchased Wranglers. I had a Grand Cherokee recently. So there's been a lot of Jeeps in the family, which has been kind of fun.
Yeah, it's there are all these great slogans, and I'm surprised Christian didn't get this one, but it's a Jeep thing, right? That's such a great one. Sorry, Christian.
No, you got it. I'm glad you called that back.
It's a Jeep thing. So, yeah, gotta love Jeeps, right? It's the American thing, right? And it goes, speaking of Conrad, right? Going way back to the military, right? The Jeep, the original Jeep,
yes,
was a military vehicle, right? And it spawned what became the Jeep that we know and love today, right? But it spawned since, I don't know, let's see, the 40s maybe. And Jeeps were made by actually multiple companies. Ford, I think Chrysler maybe. I think Willys maybe came up with the successful design, but during wartime production, you had everybody and their brother building whatever was needed. In fact, they could ship a Jeep in a box, basically, and it could be assembled overseas. And they did that quite often, just the quickest way to get them out the door and make them fit in, on the boat, on the aircraft carrier, drop it off the plane, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Willys Overland.
Yes, yeah. Willys Overland. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So where did Jeep come from? I was doing a little, we have hundreds of researchers on staff here at One Cars Love Plaza, and they were looking into slightly dozens. And they were looking into where Jeep comes from. And this is one of my favorite ones that they came up with. And who knows if this is real or apocryphal or what. Jeep stands for just enough essential parts, which I like. I'd not heard that before.
Oh, I have not heard that.
The Ford GP, where Jeep, it would be this, right? The sounding out of the letters GP. And did GP stand for general purpose at all? Or was there another reason for it? Another theory I read is that Jeep is after Eugene the Jeep, the dog-cat hybrid pet from Popeye.
Yep. It was a cartoon character. Yep. And it said
no
Jeep,
about that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yep. I've heard that one too.
And last one for you before we move on here. And as early as World War I, Jeep was used as a slang term for new soldiers or untested vehicles. So who knows where that came from? That could have been a rural phrase from someplace in the middle of nowhere. Now it's become what we all know. But okay, enough trivia. Back to you, partner. Take it away.
Yeah. So we had this family of Jeeps, right? I believe, Megan, in high school, your older brother used to take you to school in the Jeep.
Yeah.
Then it became your car and your turn to do that for your younger brother at one point, right?
No, I never had a younger brother. I just had two older brothers.
Oh, just two older brothers.
Four and two. One 4 years older, one 2 years older, right?
No, one brother 4 years older, one brother 2 years older. So yeah.
She was the end of the line.
Gotcha.
They gave up. They said, we got it perfect. No more.
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly. So that Jeep was used by all three siblings.
Yep.
And what ended up happening to that Jeep? Who got it? Where did it go?
It was sold. I think by the time I went to college, I had it actually at college for part of my freshman year. And then
Nice.
I think after that, my dad sold it. And that was the end of the Jeep.
Yeah. What a great college vehicle. My
yes,
best
it
friend,
was.
Yeah, my best friend, when he was going to college, his roommate had a Jeep, and man, we had so much fun with it, which inspired me to buy a Jeep, which I then learned was not great for commuting every day, and so I went back to a different car. But still love Jeeps. When Christian had his Jeep, I was thinking about buying another one. It's just not great for an everyday car, but some people make it work. Some people make it work. In fact, we interviewed somebody somewhat recently, Jeremy, who has an invention that we're going to talk about in a future episode for the Freedom Tops and securing them in the new Jeeps.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, there's, it's a Jeep thing, right?
Very true.
A Jeep thing. Yeah.
Very true.
So when you were post college, you're still into 4-wheel drive vehicles. You bought
I bought a Chevy Blazer.
Okay.
And I was headed out west, and so I wanted a 4-wheel drive truck. So I bought a Chevy Blazer to head out to Colorado, and that was good. And then I pretty much drove that thing until it died and was unsafe to drive. And after that, I wanted to get back to a standard vehicle. So then I ended up buying a oh my gosh, I'm forgetting a Ford Explorer. That was standard. So I wanted a standard car again, but I had to buy the absolute base model in order to get standard. But that was what I wanted. I enjoy driving more than automatic.
Yeah, no, it's I love stick shift cars. Having broken my left ankle about 20 years ago. Yep, 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago. It's not something I can do every day, but it's like a treat, if you will. Mm-hmm. So yeah, my everyday car is certainly automatic, but I do have 2 older stick shift cars, including the DeLorean that everybody's probably tired of hearing about.
Can I pop in here real quick?
Please?
You know, these 3, you know, she buys cars that also are kind of verbs, right? So the Chevy Blazer, she's blazing a trail out west, you know, not unlike a covered wagon. Then she's exploring in the Ford, and then she's going to go cruising in her next automobile. So it's like you're kind of like your Magellan or something. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Right.
Yeah. So so you went to an Explorer, and I think there were obviously cars in between, but what are your daily drivers? And save the best for last, which is actually the oldest car.
Yeah. So well, with the Explorer, I drove that thing till it was pretty much dead. And my dream car at that point was an old Land Cruiser FJ60. My time in Colorado is when I was introduced to them for the first time. I kind of fell in love with those old trucks. And I had some friends who drove them, and I had an experience where I actually depended on one to get me safely to where I needed to go. And I realized how awesome those trucks were. So I ended up buying one, a 1985 Land Cruiser, 12 years ago. And I bought it on eBay, which was
no
cool.
way.
Yeah.
Sight unseen, huh?
Yes. But the guy who was selling it had lots of pictures, lots of great descriptions. So I felt like he was pretty fair about things. So I bought that. And I've been driving that for a long time. It was my daily driver for a few years, and it was awesome. It, you know, on the highway, it would maybe go up to about 65 and start to shake a little bit. So that was kind of maxed out. But, you know, driving around here in Easton, you know, I'm not really on the highway much. I'm, 5 minutes from work, so I didn't have to drive on the highway too much. But I wanted to it was an absolute necessity that it was going to be stick shift. Again, I had to have standard, just more interesting, more fun to drive. So I've had that for years, and it's had the engine rebuilt, and then it's had some more work done recently where I had it with James, and he got everything all tuned up, ready to go, and it drives so well. And I do have another car right now. I do have a Toyota Highlander, but that's been in the shop. So I've been driving the Land Cruiser for the past week, and it's really fun to
reliable.
Drive. Yes.
What color is the Land Cruiser?
It is red.
I was going to say it's got to be red.
Yeah, it's red.
I see a theme here.
Yep, I know, right? That's funny because I never really thought about that. I guess my Explorer was silver, but yeah, the other ones were all like some shade of red.
That's what you are. You're kind of this bright, exploring, big truck, land yacht person. That's what you are. You were a throwback to the ancient explorers. They would just get in a ship, the way that you want to go. You get in your Land Cruiser and go marauding, right? Like they would just get in a ship, and it's all around the year. They wouldn't care. They would just let's go to new worlds. It's fantastic.
It's so fun and just makes me happy to drive it. I've considered selling it over the years and I can't quite do it. It makes me smile when I'm in it. It's fun just driving around town. People give me a
Yeah.
thumbs up. I'm parking lot, somebody will comment on the truck. So it's really fun to drive, but yeah, I can't get rid of it.
Highlanding could also be a verb. What are you doing this weekend? I'm going highlanding. Highlanding. Highland.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead, Doug.
Well chosen words. In fact, the 1980, the FJ60 Toyota Land Cruiser was called a Samurai, I believe, in Japan.
Really?
Good automotive knowledge.
I dig
Trivia,
that.
if you will.
Samurai. Okay.
And so that car, just curious if you know, it has a 4-liter inline six. Is that correct? If you know, Megan?
Mine? I don't know.
Okay, that's all right. Does it take diesel?
No.
Or regular?
Regular.
Okay, so it's probably a 4-liter inline six. Yeah, really, really, really harkens back. What a great vehicle. There's somebody in my neighborhood has one. I just got to find them when they're outside and see if they want to be on the show as well. But I just want to talk to them.
Doug
I just want to talk to them about the
anyone.
car.
Yeah. So dream cars. Are we about ready to start talking about dream cars, or?
Yeah. I mean, I think she has one of her dream cars, right? For sure.
Yes, that was it. People are like, "What?" But yeah, that was my dream car.
Well, I heard that it changed, though. You have a new dream car. We're dreaming of something new, and it has nothing to do with the land cruising, highlanding, blazing, jeeping, or marauding. What is our new? What do you want next?
So I've always really liked Maseratis for whatever reason. I mean, I say always, but just in the past, I don't know, 12 years or so, I've kind of noticed them. They're not all that common, but they kind of have a cool look to them. So that's just something that I'm...
Maserati. It's
I don't
to say.
There's a great song with Maserati.
Yes, and pasta.
But I do like them. They've got a pretty unique look, and they're not as popular as some of the other brands you see around town. So we'll see. I don't know if I'll ever get to that, but
boy, those Italians can really do styling, can't they? Shoes, suits, churches, okay, cars. Goodness, they're beautiful. It's funny you mentioned that because there was one for sale at not an insane price, not far from me. And I thought it was just beautiful. It was gray. It was the Ghibli. And I wanted to go drive it. And I thought, no, if you go drive it, you're going to buy it. And it's a terrible idea because I want to make it a daily driver. And then, the oxygen sensor is probably $3,000 to switch out on this stupid thing. So I was able to disengage, as you go through life, how you have these fatal flaws. They're kind of embedded deep in your DNA. And you're just like, we can't mess with that because it's kryptonite, right? So you got to just kind of stay away from these behaviors that are going to get you in trouble. But I was on my bicycle today and I saw a white one going, turning. And boy, you just look at the swoops and the curves of the car. It's just so attractive to the eye and distinctive and different. And I do think that the little trident, what do they call it? The little symbol on the car is so distinctive and different. It makes me want seafood, frankly. What do you think? Doug, are we onto something or no?
I don't know about that. But,
I could go for some oysters right now.
For listener land, if we have anybody with a Maserati obsession, Maserati background, love to talk to you, or if you have a referral.
It's good. The Maserati is kind of a weird long word that begins with M. My last name, I won't say it, but it's also a weird long word that begins with M. And I thought that was always a little bit of an interesting point there. So let's move on to, hey, are we okay to move on causes here, partner? Because she has a great one. And so for listener land, if you come on the show, you fill out a little bit of a form. and it sends us some of your the information, like what were your cars, and any causes that you have. And Megan wrote something really beautiful. And if it's okay with you, Megan and Doug, can I just read it verbatim? We've actually never had this happen before. Is that okay, Megan?
Sure.
Yeah. And so this is about hospice, and I will let her talk about the organization that she's involved with. And actually, they're doing something really neat at the end of November. And when you hear this episode, we're going to drop it ahead of time so that you can go to this if you'd like. So about hospice and about senior citizens in this country, Megan wrote, not really a cause, but I do wish more people, especially young people, would give elderly people more time, respect, and patience. Most of us will be there someday, and it's a whole different world after all those years. I feel like they are so often brushed aside so easily, as if they have nothing to offer. We should help them when they need help, navigating a more modern world, listening to their sayings and their stories, knowing the joy they have in telling them. They will probably give us a laugh, a lesson, or a glimpse of what life was like way back when. And I think that is just beautiful. And if I can say something here, you only get to be old if you're lucky. A lot of people don't even make it there. I am actually just, I won't tell you my age, but a high school classmate of mine passed away, lived on the West Coast, passed away recently. Shock, right? You only get to get old if you're lucky. And I think what you wrote was just beautiful. So please tell us a little bit about where you work, what they do, and how this came into your life, please.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. So I work at Talbot Hospice. So it's a hospice over on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. And I am the volunteer coordinator there. And I've been there for 5 years. And prior to that, I had been at another nonprofit in town managing an elder law project where we were trying to get older people their wills and powers of attorney. And I really just enjoyed the time that I got to spend with older people, just hearing their stories, hearing their one-liners, so much about what life was like. And, you realize the importance and the lives that they have lived. And if you can just take the time to listen to them, and you're going to get something back. You're going to get a good laugh. They're going to teach you something, and you're going to be better off for it. And I really enjoy my job at Talbot Hospice. As I said, I'm the volunteer coordinator. So I work with the volunteers, but I meet a lot of the patients and the families and just amazing people. And I absolutely love being there. And for a long time, I like old things. I like old people, and it's just a good place for me to be.
And I think that is truly, that is just God's work. That is the work of angels, what people in hospice do. And, it takes a team. So everything y'all do to lift that up and make that work to me is just so beautiful. And a couple years ago, my father's long-term girlfriend passed away. It was a sudden thing, cancer. But the hospice people that were there, he was telling me just from another world. I mean, real life heroes. So you were mentioning to us earlier that there was a special event going on here. And as we sort of guide the podcast show here gently to the off-ramp, I wanted to have you tell us a little bit about what's happening at the end of November with your organization.
Sure. So every year there's the Festival of Trees here in Easton, and it's put on by the Friends of Hospice, and they're actually a separate nonprofit organization, and they do the Festival of Trees, but all the money that they raise goes directly to Talbot Hospice. So it's beautiful. It's held at the Tidewater here in Easton, and local people can buy trees and decorate them. And then they've got the show for the weekend right after Thanksgiving. So starting that Saturday, the 30th, through Tuesday. And you can go to the Tidewater and see this room that looks like an absolute winter wonderland with all of the trees. And it's absolutely beautiful. And Friends of Hospice has been doing this for, I think, 30 to 40 years and raised a lot of money for Talbot Hospice, which is wonderful.
I love that. Thank you for that. And if you want to learn more, we can probably... Yeah, we could. Okay, so Talbot Hospice, that's TALBOT hospice.org. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure they will have more information. We're going to put these links and this information in the show notes. So if you're checking this out on, we'll have all this there that you can link to. So, Megan, it was wonderful to meet you. Thank you for taking time to talk to us.
Thank
you.
And
I have to tell you that I'm slightly annoyed that the Bills are doing so well, and my New Orleans Saints just fired their head coach today. But you know what? You're a wonderful and delightful person, and I can't hold it against you that you were successful.
Well, Bills fans have been through a lot over the years. I've been a diehard Bills fan. I had a rough go, in the early 90s.
Well, I'm proud of you. I'm always proud of somebody for sticking with their team. That's kind of the way I've been. I'm from Louisiana originally with my Saints. So, hey, I want to wish you all good things. Have a great rest of the season, and you are welcome on our show anytime. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Well, you have just heard the high-revving, low-mileage, late model goes to 11, heard around the world authoritative podcast on automotive nostalgia. He is Doug at carslove.com. I am Christian at carslove.com. She was, most importantly, Megan. And hey, please, if you like what you hear, please follow and tell a friend. We only get to grow and keep doing this if we widen the tent. Okay, so check out our link tree at linktr.ee/carslove. I'll give that to you again. linktr.ee/carslove.com. You can see all of our online presences. And hey, I'm sure we'll see you at the next local car show we go to. Doug wanted to sneak something in here. What was it, partner? It was, info@carslove.com for anything you want to know, or just hit us up. Hit us up separately at either Doug at carslove.com, Christian at carslove.com. Thank you for listening. Keep the left side down, and we'll see you next week.